Hey, my name is Sarah, and I am on here today to talk about addiction. So, for most of my life, I drank alcohol heavily. I blacked out. I was definitely a blackout drinker from a young teen. There was a lot of stuff going on at home, and it quickly led to other drugs, and I became a chronic ice user, IV ice user. Dragged my children through the mud. I was a young mum, and I felt like there's got to be more to life than this. I had a different thinking. Like, back then, I used to think, you've only got one life, you may as well live it. I was unhappy. I was so deeply unhappy, and I just didn't know why. I felt hollow inside, and so completely unworthy that I measured my worth by sleeping around. As long as someone wanted me, that gave me a little glimpse of feeling wanted and not alone in those moments. I really struggled with loneliness. It used to eat me away. My anxiety was so high I'd have panic attacks. Even when I used drugs, they gave me worse panic attacks until I really got used to them. Obviously, I went from using a little bit to using a lot that I could not financially support that habit, or my partners at the time. So I'd turn tricks, basically. Got myself into a lot of trouble doing that. We got chased many times, taking people's money. And I did a lot of things that I held great shame for, guilt and shame. And I'm telling this story because there might be some of you out there that haven't sought help, or you want to seek help, or you're just in that place. I know what it's like to be in that place where using's ruining your life, but you can't stop. I ended up in another state, in jail, waiting for bail. My mum wouldn't pay the bail bond, and I don't blame her at all. She told me one time that I'd either be dead or in jail within a year, and she was right. I felt deep in my bones that I was going to die, either from someone else's hands or from my using. I ended up homeless, living in my car, in another state, and just hanging around other users, other IV users. Some scary people, some people I never thought I would have hung out with, and was doing things I never thought I would ever do in my life. And losing my children wasn't enough. I kept going because I was so empty inside. It wasn't until the paranoia got so severe that I was hearing things, seeing things. I thought people were going to kill me. I thought everyone was out to kill me. I thought the feds were after me. I thought the police were listening to my every call. I thought I was being followed all the time. And it wasn't until those moments where I just couldn't live with myself anymore. I'd done so many things I hated myself for through my addiction. Never thought I would have had a criminal history. Never thought I would have lost my children, because I was in denial for my whole life. In my early 20s, my mum suggested AA, and I thought, no way, that's for old people and real alcoholics. And I didn't think I was a real alcoholic, but I was. I couldn't trust myself with the car keys, I couldn't give them to anyone else because I just would have got them back. I was a perpetual drink driver, lost my license for 3 or 4 years and still drove, even with the interlock in the car. And I put myself and my children at risk during those times. I was always putting myself at risk just so that I could have other people around me. I was in the most toxic of relationships, and they got worse and worse, to a point where I was so codependent on this man that I let him hurt me very deeply on many levels and stayed with him. And my family couldn't take that. They couldn't take the drug use anymore and the things that I was doing. I hit many lows on that journey. Like I said, until I literally couldn't live anymore. I was in psychosis and I'd had enough. I just had enough. I'd had all I could take and I couldn't take any more. I was sick of myself. I didn't understand myself, why I was doing the things I was doing, why I was behaving the ways I was behaving. And I walked into a St. Vincent de Paul store, homeless, with no food, no clothes, and I asked them for help, and I broke down crying, and this elderly gentleman put his hand on my shoulder, and I wondered, what is he doing touching just a junkie like me? And he said, it's going to be alright, we're going to help you. And he meant what he said. And him and his wife helped me get into a private detox centre. And I missed the first admission because I was still using. There was, I think, 2 warrants out for my arrest, and I was at the end of my tether. This man really helped fight for my life to get me into this detox centre because he could see something in me that I couldn't see at the time. And he helped put me on a train to a rehab, which was very far away, which is what I wanted. I needed to leave that life behind me, and that meant everyone in it. So I got a different SIM card for my phone and started fresh. And it was a bumpy ride in. It really was. It wasn't easy. But I was longing to be happy. And I had reached the end. I knew I was at the end. I couldn't go any further than what I'd gone. So I went to rehab. Full-time rehab. And went to meetings regularly, met other people like me. You know, I thought I was so alone in this world, and then I got to meet people who had been through what I had been through, and that's why I'm here today sharing my story, in hope that someone realizes that you're not alone, and you don't have to be. There's people out there to help you. In my first year of recovery, I had my spiritual awakening and realised my true gifts of being a healer, and that I can now guide people on their journeys of struggle and suffering because I have been there. It's been nearly 5 years since I last used alcohol or drugs. Or did anything that made me feel like a piece of shit. I have self-respect now. I truly turned a new leaf. And my family didn't think it was possible. I didn't even know if it was possible. There was no light at the end of the tunnel for me when I first got to recovery, and now I've got my little boy back in my life full time. My daughter moved up to be near me, and I'm still working on one day hopefully gaining a relationship with my other daughter. There was a lot of hurt there and broken trust, but I'm not giving up, and I have patience around that today. So this story, I could have gone for so long talking about it, but I hope I've given you the main points, that you don't have to live in pain anymore. And I can attest to that. I had to go to the end. I had to be at the bottom of bottoms. I had to go to hell first to be prepared to do anything to get clean, to have a new life, to live differently, to think differently. And I'm so glad that I can now help others in their lives do the same. I'm a spiritual mentor, a chakra expert, a quantum healer, meditation teacher, all those beautiful things I love that light up my soul. And if you need help, please get in touch. Many blessings to you. Namaste.